Yep.
All right. Can you see the red light?
Yep.
Good. Yeah. And then can you see my screen here? You should see some conscript, yeah?
Yep.
Fantastic. All right, you got Jamie here, aka Squirrel. I've got the first round of the whatever year it is, latest Red Zone Blitz draft on the screen in front of me, and Joel and Nick are on. Are you guys on?
Yep. Hey guys.
Yep. Good. So before we get into the draft, let's just talk about the absolute demolition of everyone in the league by Nick last year. Well done, Nick. That was the most comprehensive bowl win I think I've ever seen in front office football in all the years I've been playing it.
Thank you.
That was really, really excellent. There was no competition really at any stage. Obviously, dice rolls could have befallen you at any point, but in terms of realistic competition, there was none. So it's on the rest of us to improve. Is that one of the better seasons you've had, do you think?
Well, let me tell you the key to it. The key to it was me dropping my laptop.
Go on.
Well, it's a true story. In my house, I've got like a staircase, and over the top of the staircase is like like a 12-foot drop. And I always got into the habit of putting my laptop on on the top, and I'm about to take it down. And I clipped it. And it went plummeting into the floor. I told Steve and Rob all this. I thought I told you, Joel, but obviously not.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, so it went hurtling into the floor and smashed into a million pieces. And obviously, I was asking you, what am I supposed to buy, Joel? Because I'm an absolute technophobe. I've got no idea.
Right.
I'm not really interested in computers, so I only want a laptop for and nothing else. And so So I'm thinking, shit. So I bought the first thing I saw on eBay, cheap.
Yeah.
And of course, I lost all my game plans, didn't I?
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So I lost all my game plans. So obviously, I was running the football all year, wasn't I? And, we were ticking over. We did quite well. Okay, we were 15-1 or whatever, but we weren't really smashing people out of the water. And anyway, I wrote this. Yeah, so I had to write a new game plan, and don't know why, but I started throwing the ball a lot more. I looked who I was facing, and I was starting to come against teams that I didn't really fancy my chances of dominating on the ground, and I just wrote a brand new game plan, really, right from the start. And from that point forward, we really took off. So there you go. That's how it all came about in the playoffs. That's why all of a sudden we totally transformed overnight.
I mean, for me, it was this guy Shields. When he got him as a trade from Mikey the previous offseason, I thought, well, that's wrapped up, and basically the rest of us, it's going to be a couple of years before anyone else is really going to be able to compete, and then it's just dice rolls. It's you against the field and dice rolls. I think I
mean, he's so dumb. That's the only trouble. He's just I don't know Moss's before your time. I had another 85 rate at the tight end, 0 intelligence, same as Shields, and you normally get one penalty a game, and it's coming, and it does piss you off, but pretty much the next down he'll catch 13-15 yard pass for first down. So
exactly. I mean, that combination is pretty impossible for anyone else to replicate at the moment. It's going to be good for years before anyone gets enough draft capital to be able to combine what you've got. So that's kind of that. I'd love to see what would happen if you could somehow pull. I wish this was a feature you could do to get your team in this league against Zach's team in IHOF and see who wins, because that's the debate at the moment for who's got the most dominant franchise in multiplayer. I mean, I'm sure there are other leagues and stuff, but obviously the most competitive leagues are probably more interesting.
The thing is, if I was going head to head with Zach with no rules, I'd probably just copy what Zach was doing. Really,
right? But then you see he's got the best players, I guess. If the game plan neutralizes out.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there is that loophole in the game. And I did break his game plan down and exactly what he was doing, the ins and outs of it. And certainly pre-patch, absolutely no doubt in my mind. If there was money involved, I would just do exactly what he was doing. Whether it's, I don't know if, it's hard to say right now whether it's still got the edge, that strategy, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me if it still has slightly.
Yeah.
Which year was more impressive then? 2028 with Perry or this year?
Well, I think the playoffs this year, but the team as a whole, I think we were probably the better team in the regular season that year.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I think we were more dominant during the regular season that year, but I think in the playoffs it was, we really took off crazy, didn't we, in the playoffs? Yeah.
Right. Well, I think we got another join. People are starting to join because I posted up on Slack the details. I think some of our colleagues as GMs in this league are joining us. Someone just join us? Hello?
Hello? Yeah. It's Dave. Dave isn't speaking right now, though, because mic's not on.
Okay. Dave, figure out how to turn your mic on. Anyway, why don't we get into the picks? Why don't we start getting into, as people begin to join, why don't we start off with the picks and we can go through it. So this is, I don't know what year of the RZB it is, but anyway, this is the picks. We're going to go through the first round like we did last year, and hopefully we'll do each year as we go. And this first pick, I mean, just before we get into the player, I was pleased the player came up because Cleveland have had their difficulties. And for Simon, since he joined it, he's not really had a lot of draft picks, right? For those who are not familiar with the history, Zach was the GM of this team before. He had a obviously very personalized approach. Not many other people can replicate. He traded away a lot of the draft capital, and so a lot of the toothpaste had been wasn't in the tube anymore. And so for a few years, Cleveland have found it pretty tough. And we find ourselves looking at them as the first pick of the draft. And I kind of hope there'd be a good quarterback for them. And I think this is the best player in the draft. Does anyone disagree?
Not at all.
Clearly.
I think he's the best quarterback in years as well.
Yeah, he's just a no-brainer. He looks amazing.
Yeah, and so you just hope for the Cleveland team that they're going to have. This guy's going to have avoid interceptions. The 6% developed and the 5.11. I don't care. I can't imagine any of us care that much. You just pick this guy and move on. And so
I'm looking forward to seeing him running because I think the pressure is going to mount a little on Fat Cat.
Yeah, I want to start getting the wins.
His head's in a vice, and every season it's a quarter turn on the vice.
I don't know. I just think one more season of being crap while this guy's got no cohesion, get a receiver, and then they'll be off to the races. And let's see how they go. But that's
the fun, though, isn't it? That's part of the fun.
This is
I mean, you look at Mikey. He was self-destructing. It's easy to forget that how bad they were. I mean, they were horrendous, weren't they? And he had massive talent, and they were horrendous. And then all of a sudden, just like that, he seemed to turn the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was, almost seemed like overnight, wasn't it? 1 minute they were absolutely awful, and the next minute, Super Bowls.
Yeah, I think it can happen quick, and obviously this player is so talented that if it turns out that the hidden attributes are as good as the ones we can see, and there's no problem with the volatility on the reveals, then this is going to be one of the most valuable assets in the league, right?
I'm pretty certain his AI is going to be 80 plus at least.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. On a 50, yeah. I mean, I think he's the dog's bollocks, quite honestly. It's just there's the unknown variable of whether Fat Cat is able to get the best out of him or even approaching the best. That's something we don't know.
Yeah.
Because we see a lot of top quality QBs going to the league, and you can name off the top of your head that have been looking like him, kind of, and they've stuttered and not really done much. A few of them had to move teams, and Mason, it took him 8 years to get rolling. So
Finished. Yeah. I mean, the Eagles guy. It's not the be all and end all. Yes, you've got the good quarterback, but can you produce? That's going to be the fun thing, and it is going to be fun. It is kind of fun when you watch these teams, talented teams, when they don't produce. Almost, you sort of.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfectly viable strategy to get a quarterback, and then while they're young and not very good and building their cohesion, get the receivers, right? And I think that's as good a strategy as any other. We've got three. Other than us, so Nick, Joel, and I'm on. It's Jamie. I think we've got 3 other guys on now, but everybody's on mute. Is anybody? Everyone's figuring out how to mute it or unmute it. But if anybody manages to press unmute successfully, do say hello and join us.
Yep.
Hi, this is Dave.
Dave, how's it going?
I'm all right. I'm just on mute because I'm in the middle of a trade, so I will be listening while I get the trade sorted, and then I'll be chatting a bit.
All right.
Which Dave is it? Which Dave is it? It's like Seven
Thompson.
Dave.
Yeah.
San Francisco, right?
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
I said I was going to try, so.
Yeah, no. Well, good to have you on. Well, let's get your trade sorted and we'll have a proper chat. I think Simon's on because we're talking about your pick, Simon. You on?
Yeah, I am indeed. Evening, guys.
Hey, what's going on? So obviously Simon is Cleveland, and we've just been, before you joined, we just talked about your first round pick. I think we all see this as the no-brainer consensus first pick in the draft. So well done for sticking and picking. There was absolutely no reason to trade away from this guy, in my view. And we were just saying the pressure builds on you now, right? Because it's time for you to start winning when you've got an asset like this in the team.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a couple of years to get the cohesion up, etc. But yeah, I need to start winning. And
have you got
try and trade for it?
Have you got any receivers, Simon? I need to look, but have you got any receivers?
I've got one decent one and a second one that's got pretty decent route running. So I traded one away because he was like 7th year, and I thought by the time the quarterback develops, he'll be like 9th year and basically useless, to cash in on him now. Yep. So I kind of expect him to lose for another year, try and get younger and see what we can do.
Good. Well, that sounds very sensible to me. I think let's keep going then. Why don't we get on to the second pick? I'm trying to figure out next pick. So next pick, here we go. So this guy, Hawkins, was picked by Detroit. Now, someone might have to help me here because I've not been as up to date with all the various trades and stuff. So if people have traded in to get these picks, you might need to tell me. But the one thing that I noticed is that Detroit took a quarterback last year, right? And now they are taking another one again this year. I had this guy number 5 on my board. What do we think of this one?
I think he's the no-brainer second pick. Yeah. I think a low 70 guy is probably a 70-ish AI high soul. Nicely developed already. Yeah. Doesn't run, which is nice.
I like him. I think he's a good player. Yeah, good player. No, the right pick at number 2, I think.
Well, I'd have taken the wide receiver you took at 4, Nick, before this guy. I think the wide receiver is a more valuable asset than this guy, particularly having taken a quarterback last season. You can't know this soon whether or not it's good or bad.
I mean, he could have traded down possibly, but to be honest, without the BPR, I would have gone with this quarterback. I mean, if he had the BPR, I agree with you, but yeah, I wasn't actually all that excited about what receiver I took. Really, he's all right, but I mean, maybe I'm spoiled. My guys can do it all. I've got guys that can catch all the routes. This guy, he's not as explosive as what I'd like, but I would say this is the second guy for me on the board.
Okay, well, there's Hawkins. I had him 5 for its worth. I liked the receiver more, and I liked the tight ends that went a bit later on this draft. There were 2 outstanding tight ends for me. But this is an excellent pick, obviously.
How would you compare him to my QB? How much difference is there, would you say?
So on my little calculation, the one you've got is probably 80 rated. This one's probably more like 65, 70. Okay. There's a flaw. There's no short passing, and arguably short passing's one of the more important things a quarterback needs to be able to do. I wouldn't say there's none. There's obviously enough, but it's not elite. So in a third down and short situation, this quarterback will very, very considerably less valuable than the one that you've taken. So, that's one of the problems I've got with this guy Sharp. He's got a 0 for short passing, and he's good at everything else. So if we get to 3rd and 5, I probably won't convert it, or much less likely to convert it than I would even with a league average quarterback short passing. And actually, it turns out, and there's a bit of a flaw in my logic, that's a really major problem. And that's one of the reasons why Sharp doesn't do as well as you'd think he ought to do. And so this guy, I think, is much less valuable than the quarterback you took for that reason. And having said that, I still think he's super valuable. He's obviously going to be one of the more valuable quarterbacks in the league if he reveals like this, right? I mean, obviously. But I would just rather the receiver than Nick took, that's all.
Okay, thanks.
Should we talk about the 3rd pick now? The 3rd pick was also a quarterback. What do we think about this one?
Yeah, me and Joel talked a lot about this guy. And, the more we looked at him, initially I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. And then the more I looked at him, the less I liked him. And the reason why is I think the avoided interceptions could be a problem. He's got the centre rush that's high, the read defence that's high, but he's he's in a smart group as well, so he's likely to come out with fairly high intelligence. And I think with the 43 soul, it's going to kind of eat away at his avoid interceptions bar, which is being picky. Of course it is,
so the logic there, if I understand the logic there, let's just drill in the logic there. The logic there is, we know from his age group that it's going to be, from his date of birth, it's going to be high intelligence. We know that, right? Yeah. We think that the solid seismic score, which you can see, 43 is high. So if I put that on a 0 to 100 scale, I make that 90 out of 100, right? I've just looked it up.
90?
So that's 90 out of 100, so it's high.
I don't think it's that high. I don't see it that being that high.
43 for the solid seismic score.
Well, I mean, that guy was 50 to start with, wasn't he?
Yeah, I've got him for 100 on my little calculation I've got in front of me.
What's the max soul then? Is that about 55 or something?
I don't know, but it could be wrong, right? It's calculation I did ages ago where I looked at a bunch of them and just tried to come up with a sensible distribution. Could be wrong, but it's high, right? It's not.
No, it is high. It's high. I mean, there does seem to be a weird sort of. I was reading back a little while back, and there does seem to be some sort of weird cut-off points on soul, like around about. I don't know if it happens in this version, but you sort of hit 46, and it just seems to rocket on. I don't know why. I'm not sure that it sort of. I don't see as a 43 as being a 90 out of 100. But we'll agree to differ on that one.
Yeah, let's just say it's a number, right? It might be 90, it might be 80, it might be 70. Anyway, it's a high number, but it's not crazy high, but it's high. Then you say, all right, that's going to somehow materialize in a combination of things: the sense rush bar, I think the read defense bar, the avoid interceptions, right? The avoid interceptions, you can't see. The other stuff you can see. So the logic is that by a process of deduction, you work backwards to the avoid interception. I don't know.
Do we know what the weightings are, though, of the sense rush and the read defense? I've seen various figures thrown out there.
I've got no idea. I've got absolutely no idea how to do any of this.
I mean, I have it written down somewhere, but
Joel was just about to give us all the secrets, but he just then someone from the iPhone company decided they're just going to blur all that out.
Wi-Fi's in the gutter, Joel, I'm afraid. So I don't think sense rush. I don't think it's like a 25% split or anything like that. I think read defense and sense rush are smaller chips. To
extend your logic, Nick, basically the logic is, if that's true, you basically want the read defense bar to be low, because the sense rush bar you want it to be high because it's static and it helps everything else. But all else constant, you'd rather have the read defense bar to be worse.
What you'd rather have, I think, if you've got a soul of around 50 to 55, I'm not sure 55 is top. I got a vague that it might be, or around that region. Mark Powell would know that. He's got the. I haven't got the thread in front of me. Somebody might have, but he'll. That thread of his will say what the highest soul is. You get to 50, and it kind of goes all goes out the window, and I think you can get away with murder and end up with an AI of 100, even with all the bars being high.
Right.
I don't think the weighting is particularly high on read defense and sense rush. I think they're only small weightings, but I think the intelligence could cause a bit of bother at a 43 soul.
So this is something I've been figuring out for like the past 2 or 3 months, and it is out of those weightings, and you do want to figure it out between all 4, and you want to find kind of if you're looking for the perfect quarterback, honestly, you want low read defense. You obviously want sense rush. You want them to be a dumb group, and you want incredibly high seismic score, is what I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with, if you've got a certain soul, you don't need all that. You can have maxed out bars and still have a maxed avoid interception. But obviously, you need that sky high soul, which this guy hasn't got. So when you're at a 43, then yes, you do need lower bars. But yeah, I do think it might literally be like 10% each for those bars. That sort of, we're not talking a massive amount, I don't think.
Right.
And I think I did read it was around about a 60-40 split, soul versus intelligence, but that study didn't mention read defense or sense rush, because obviously we're going back into the past now, quite sussed it all out. But I think roughly there's an even split on intelligence and soul. So if you said this guy comes out with what is the intelligence supposed to be, around 70 or something on this guy?
I don't know.
What group is he? 618. No, it's higher than. Yeah, the average is probably about 70. So plus minus 30. So we could have 100 intelligence, which would be a bummer.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're saying that he had 70 intelligence, I would expect his AI to be coming out possibly around 45 to 50.
Yeah, which would be fine, but ideally you want more.
So you got a risk, like Joel just said. If his intelligence comes out on the high side, then all of a sudden you've got a big problem. You've got like a Roberson over in Tennessee. You've got yourself a pain in the ass, really.
Yeah. Well, let's see. This is a bit of risk in this pick. Again, yeah. I like the receiver you take in a minute more. I like the tight ends that went at 9 and 10 more. As a receiver that went at 6, I like more.
Joel's pick didn't have risk to it in my mind. When we run through his quarterback, the quarterback that Joel took, there didn't seem to be the downside that there is on this guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the third pick in the draft, and I think, look, if that's where we're going on the way you come up with avoiding a section, well done, Joel. If you spend a lot of time looking at that, because that's an advance, right? If we get to a point where that's where we're going analytically, I think that's a step forward. Right, next pick. Let's do the receiver. I just think this is the best receiver there's been for ages and will be one of the most important players in the league. So well done, Nick. I think this guy will be a huge difference maker and will win playoff games single-handedly and is one of the most valuable assets in the game.
You don't value BPR that much then?
I think the main thing BPR exists to do is to get you through the reveal.
Really?
I think there's enough there. Yeah.
See, I like, I always sort of tend to throw my deep balls to BPR guys, and also I think it helps once you get the initial getting downfield break, but then after that, that's when BPR can kick it in from say a 25-yard game to an 80-yard game.
Which may be true, right? Sense rush matters in the game and matters in the draft. I don't know whether I would feel the same way about BPR. I've just looked ages ago. I looked at a bunch of receivers and tried to figure out which ones correlated with winning, and BPR didn't seem to be as significant as the others. So I just sort of thought of it more in a drafting context. Doesn't mean I'm right. I've got no idea, right? No. But I think this.
What's T-Zach up to these days with BPR? Is he getting into BPR?
I've got no idea. I don't think he does much other than I think he cares about running a lot more than everything else. Oh, but yeah. I don't really know. But I think that I again, as I say, I could easily be wrong. But I have a sneaking suspicion that this is easily the most valuable receiver in this draft, and I think one of the most valuable receivers we'll find in this league.
I'll go and have a look at his roster on iHealth while we're talking and see what.
I mean, the idea that you've got this guy in Shields on your roster for the next 6 or 7 seasons, that combination could be unassailable for most of the rest of us. I think it could get to a point where it's kind of dice rolls and that's it for a long time, because I don't really see how anybody without a top tier receiver is going to compete with this guy in like a shootout game, in a playoff game. I don't see how you do that.
Well, I've got a call. Really?
Is that
you've got a high cohesion quarterback, right? So
for the moment, he's going to be going out soon. He's about 400 years old. He hasn't got a lot of life left in him.
Well, I mean, that's the saving grace for the rest of us. But that's how I feel about this guy. I think this is the second best player in the draft, and I think it was sort of fairly clear to me. But that doesn't mean, again, that I
sounds like you're higher on him than what I am. Just for the record, it looks like T-Zach's guys, at least in the IHOP, are high BPR guys. So.
Yeah, well, as I say, it could matter a lot. I don't claim to know.
Yeah,
sure.
I like him. I mean, I like him. Obviously, a special teams actually was another reason. I like to have a guy that can save you roster spots, doesn't it? If you've got like a guy that's got both of those special teams spots, that's great. But,
for sure, and the returning.
He's sociable as well, isn't he?
Yeah, the returning side of it. But yeah. I mean. I can't. Yeah, as I say, I'm probably not as high as him as what you are, but I'm probably been a bit spoilt with the receivers I've had in the past. So I can't moan. It's I didn't really. deserved to have 1-4 really. I just had a bit of luck and ended up with it. So yeah, I can't blame him to who I ended up with.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have taken him at 1.3 if I hadn't traded out with Washington, even though the big play bar. And the reason I did do the move down was because the big player bar put me off.
Now, I was going to ask about that. I think a lot of people thought Johnson was as good because his big play was right up there where Hardy's isn't. So that kind of confused me a bit.
I think they're both good, but I think Johnson is like a 70 rated, really good player, and I think this guy could easily be 80, 85 rated and basically impossible to handle.
85, really? Wow. Okay.
I mean, the thing is route running is kind of the king in a way. It's like that's kind of like the base of a cake, if you like. And if you haven't got route running, you've got nothing. So the problem with Johnson is if he ends up with like a 60 route running bar, which I kind of thought he might do, it really does detract quite a lot from his ability.
Hang on, let's see if I can put the two guys on the same.
I'm just trying to find a guy a minute.
Yeah, because we were talking to each other, weren't we, Nick? And I was raving about Johnson on track and field end, and as soon as we got the interviews, your question just came through. It's like, have you chilled a bit on him now? I was like, completely cooled.
I got about 55. I mean, I've got a good scout, Jamie, and I interviewed Johnson. I've got a good scout. I got him as scouted, and his route running looks about 55. And if that is the case, I mean, I got no reason to think it isn't.
Yep.
That really does take a lot of the fun out of Johnson.
No, I agree. Obviously, Hardy's a better pick than Johnson. I don't think it's that much of a debate. I mean, I think there's a bit more risk, I guess, to that big play thing. It could be I say 80, 85, that's probably a best case, but I don't really care about what the rating is. The point is if the route running and the getting downfield and come out at 90 plus and the endurance is 70 or 80, then this guy will win playoff games single-handedly for years.
I see him as about 76, 77, and I see Johnson about 10 points behind that. I see Johnson as like a 66, 67.
Yeah. Oh, we've got another GM joining us. Hang on a sec. So that'll get us up. Fantastic. So if somebody just join us, hang on a sec. Let me get this video thing off the screen.
LD, Washington.
Hey, what's up? Can you guys see? Hang on. Let's do that. All right. So how's it going? You just join. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yes, Hildy Washington. He just spoke.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on?
Hey, we just went through your quarterback pick. We're just going through the picks. We're on pick 4. Anything else anyone wants to talk about on pick 4 before we move on?
I'll say this. I'm just looking at Johnson. Your route running is higher than mine. I'm just trying to see how good
it's
your
higher
scout
than
is.
I see as well. I go 45 to 60.
Our offensive scout, I think, is pretty good actually. I don't think the defensive one is.
It could be going in the right direction in that route running. Maybe it's higher than what we think because you have got a very good scout. I'm just looking at it.
Yeah.
My scout pretty much as good as yours. Having said that, which is kind of weird. It just adjusted down. Route running. When I think probably initially it looked like that, my profile, but then as soon as I scouted him, route running jumped downwards a bit.
Yeah. Well, look, they're obviously both good players. I'd still take Hardy first. I think they're both.
Yeah, I'd take Hardy first, but I wouldn't be jumping for joy. I like to have the whole package. I like to have. You take a guy like Lane, Jamie. He's always been a ridiculously good player, and he's not a highly rated player. He's about a 60, something like that. But he's got them, pretty much. I mean, he's declining now, but he had the max BPR and he had the max GD, and his route running was around 85. And I think the reason he was so explosive was because he had both of those bars, the GD bar and the BPR bar. He was, incredibly explosive. And his other bars are total crap, really. But it just made him zing. And I just don't think you're going to see that sort of zing out of Hardy. I don't think he's going to be that kind of player. I think he'll be more of a possession sort of. He's going to get the nippy yards up to 20-25. I don't think he's going to get those, monster touchdowns that Lane was getting all his career.
Yeah, but I do think the yards per target. I mean, we're having this guy in Shields for ages. Yeah, again, I think you'll lead the league in yards per target unless something weird
Yeah,
happens.
I mean, Shields would be my main deep threat the way things are going, but
Let's go to
it
let's
does
go to
work. It's the one.
let's go to Joel's pick. This is the
Yeah.
like I say, what's going on here, Joel? Explain this one to us, because this is the one that I struggle with a little bit. But that doesn't, clearly you're analytically going through this pretty closely and have some views on what that all means. So why don't you take us through this?
Joel's Wi-Fi's killing him again, I think.
Well, we've been talking about basically now. Hello.
Me and Joel
Yeah, I
talk
can hear you,
about
Joel.
this. Talk about this for hours. We play PUBG together, the like Call of Duty kind of game, and yeah, naturally we're playing PUBG, and you can't help but start talking about prospects. And sometimes players call on you, sometimes they grow on you, and this was a guy that sort of grew on me, and it sort of grew on Joel, and I guess we egged each other on, but when you actually go through this guy, he's dumb, which is obviously good. Very, very dumb, if I recall. And that kind of pretty much guarantees he's going to have a decent soul. 3 defenses down there. We just didn't see the risk in this guy. I know I got very underrated, and I think Joel did as well. I just don't see this guy collapsing. I'm not saying he's going to be 80, but not at all. But
so help me with the one thing I guess I need a bit of help with on a guy like this is the accuracy. So I work on the expectation that accuracy is one of the more important things, and I know that view, it feels to me like that view was more prevalent 6-9 months ago in the community of people that play this game seriously than it is now, because I just get the sense that most of the top players have stopped caring about accuracy. I still care about accuracy, so I'm clearly, I'm kind of missing the boat a little bit here.
Well, my quarterback's got 0. I mean, the quarterback who's just been tearing it up, he's got no accuracy at all.
Yeah.
Hartman. So, I don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, I think if you're running a West Coast offense and you're throwing flats and screens and digs, then I think you're probably going to notice accuracy more, because it's a bar that will help the yak. It's not as important as, say, getting downfield. So, if a receiver's got that, that's going to outweigh accuracy. But, then you might sort of see a little bit. But if you're throwing 3, 4, 5, 6 sort of routes, wheel routes down the field, I don't think accuracy matters very much at all, really.
One of the things I'm struggling with this guy Sharp is that I basically put in a game plan last year, which only ran mid routes and longer because he's so bad at short passing. And the game doesn't like you doing that. I've learned. I need to be a bit more.
You've got to find that sweet spot. You've got to find. Again, if you have a look at what T-Zac does, that is pretty much the key to what he's doing. He's found the sweet spot as to what the game likes to see, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
He tends to throw medium routes primarily. Is 3 and 4. He loves the 3 and 4 route, and you've got to sprinkle them across formations, obviously, but put them more into the 1-1-3, etc., followed by the 1-2-2. It's just finding that sweet spot of what the AI is happy with, really.
Yeah, well, I sure as hell didn't do that. But this guy, look, I love picks like this because this is a very analytically driven, data-driven kind of pick. It's not intuitive as to why this player is good. I hope this player is really good. I don't know if Joel, if you can hear me. I hope this player turns out great, because I just love the kind of boldness and the analytical precision involved in coming up with picks like this. I don't really get this, but I like it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, he'd be a good player, this guy. I've got no doubt in my mind at all.
So that's Thomas.
That he's 5'9".
60 something.
Yeah. What do we think about the fact he's 5'9"? Do we care? I mean, I have to say, it's not something I ever really even look at all.
It's like I know people have done tests for like 5'11" and 5'10", but I think 5'9" is like the shortest QB I've seen.
Joel's done tests. He's done loads of tests on quarterback height, so he probably knows more about that than any of us. So I guess the fact that he took a 5'9" guy says it all, doesn't it, really?
I will share some pictures on Slack if you want. I've got about 30 different quarterback careers from 5'9" guys. I can just put up there after the end of this video.
I love the way it kind of tails off. It's like the suspense it creates.
What AI 5'9". It's really That's it.
We've got
Tell you
this
what,
like
I could
garbled
deal with
I'm just
oracle.
not talking.
in my life, man. It's just so annoying. We play PUBG, and all of a sudden Joel just disappear or stop talking, or his player would just like stand in the middle of a field in a war zone. He'll just stand there because his Wi-Fi's cut out. This happens to us every other night.
Joel, you got to move house. You need to move somewhere more urban or whatever you need to do. Anyway, Johnson pick 6. We've talked about Johnson. Yeah, I think a bunch of us are gonna. Yeah, you got to look at that route running bar, and again for Denver.
He's a good player though. At 1-6, I think.
Is Hooper on this call? I think Hooper might be on this call actually.
He
I think
was.
it's
Sure.
Denver, right?
He's just chatting though, like in the text that you can put in.
Okay. Which I've got no idea how to read, let alone much less put on the screen.
Yeah, he's saying I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, he's a good player. I think for 1-6. I mean, the thing with Lucio is he's 25 in December. I mean, that tight end.
Yeah.
I fell in love with that guy initially. I was like, Jesus, this is. And I'm sat there in single player running all these 2 tight end offenses. I'm thinking, yeah, do I really want to move away from my game plan that I've done well with? I really don't. I felt like I'd probably end up fighting the engine, if you know what I mean, because the engine is not. I kind of made it look pretty good, but I just felt, in crunch time, I might be losing 5 or 10%. Because the engine's being an arse, and as I say, he's old, that tight end. So I don't know. I think Johnson is right there for me with Lucio as the right pick at this point.
Yeah, I like those 2, and I also like. There's a guy who went at 10 called Aid a lot, who went to Tennessee, so we'll get there. But it's obviously a good pick, and yeah, one of the things that's really obvious in this league now is that I think the first 10 picks were offensive players involved in either passing or catching the ball. So there's clearly been like a real trend now emerging towards these players at the top of the draft. Everybody realizes
people just know what they're doing now. We've been playing a while, and people, from top to bottom in the league, tend to draft pretty well.
Yeah, and long may it continue. Parity is a good thing. Next one, 7th pick. We've got this guy, Breck. I had him a bit further down the board, Breck. So I'm not entirely sure why. I guess the endurance. I mean, I think this guy looks all right. Any views on Breck?
He's a good player. I mean, yeah, I probably would have had a Lucio. But who was it who drafted him?
49ers. I didn't take the tight end because I'd taken Foreman last year. That was the only reason I didn't take one.
Yeah, you got Foreman, so
yeah.
That's
the only reason I didn't take the tight end.
I mean, sneak preview on my little putative draft review thing that I've got now that calculates in real time as we go along the draft. You're currently leading this draft by a long way because you've got a whole bunch of first rounders and each of them seem to fall quite neatly. I like this guy. I think a 7th pick. The way we're drafting nowadays in this league, I don't think you'll get a wide receiver the 7th pick that's this good very often. I think actually it's pretty good.
Running downfield was what I was looking at. So
yeah, it's a good player. Yeah.
So that's Breck with the 7th pick. Then this is the 8th pick. So I don't know how Joel's got on the board. Was Joel trading up? I lost a little bit of track. I mean, Joel traded with me in the first round, so he must have been trading all over the place.
1-4. He offered me 2-4 to move up the 4 slots. And it was a very, very difficult decision for me. I would have actually taken that 1% wide receiver, mainly because of chemistry. I had Morrison and the 1% guy pretty much bang on even. But the 1% guy had the chemistry, so I would have taken the 1% guy at 1-8 if I did it. But then I decided really I may as well. I think Hardy's better, so I'm just going to stick, and I don't really need extra picks. Bugger it, I'll just stay. So that's the story behind that one.
Yeah, and then this is presumably there was another trade to get there. This looks like another good play. I'm just looking at my board again.
Yeah,
he looks right.
2 Baltimore firsts and a 3rd, I think. So 2 Ravens firsts and a 3rd to grab 1-8. I think Morrison's a bloody good player. I got him slightly above Breck. I think I had him as scouted. I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I had him as scouted as well. I took
Painful.
Thanks, Joel. The Oracle
Thank you.
speaks again.
He's also the same affinity group as the quarterback in this draft.
Yeah. Well, look, the affinity is obviously going to become valuable over time. Fingers crossed for you that they come out with sensible.
Yeah, Joel had
personality.
a great draft because obviously he got the magical QB wide receiver times 2, didn't he?
Yeah, and if it all works, then good. That's the receivers
The only
now.
problem is Morrison is mellow. He's only mellow, so it's probably not actually going to be a massive chemistry thing for him. So could the quarterback's cheerful. So we were talking about this, Jamie, the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, cheerful. I think I did this ages ago.
I think
cheerful's the top one, sociable's the middle one, and
you're
whatever
right.
it is, mellow's the bottom one. Yeah,
we worked
is that what we think?
that out. Yeah.
All right, so that's and then you still got dice rolls for how I think you get the leadership and the personality scores. So for the quarterback, for example, if it were to be cheerful, and then that's good, that means it's going to be high. But I think it is still. I don't actually know this for sure by any stretch, but I think it is conceivably possible, at least believable, that the leadership might be high and the personality might be low, which is not really what you want. Because for the quarterback, at least as far as I can tell, the leadership doesn't really matter. It's just the personality that matters because that forms the connection with the leader in each of the position groups. So whatever. Anyway, that all sounds like a good. I can see cohesive. That's a cohesive whole for Joel to do all these things, and that sounds like it'll be promising and bear fruit in years to come. Let's move on to Lucio. I had this guy as number 3 on my big board. He's obviously a total chip. What do you call it? I guess a blue chip superstar, mega prospect. He's a bit older.
Yeah.
He's age 24, which you can't really see on here.
59%. He's ready to go. Yeah, he was 24 in December. Yeah, he was. That was a big thing for me. That really sort of put me off really a little bit.
I do think this guy has got the chance to be one of the most dominant players in the league. He could be another Shields.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's worth remembering that big play receiving, which says here 61 to 80. For a tight end, I've never seen one with BPR more than 70, 80 odd. So that's basically equivalent to being full.
Yeah, about 85, I think, is doable, but no higher than that.
So, I mean, if this guy busts, then I don't know anything about this game at all, right? Because this should be the most no-brainer.
Could be random ball, but that's it. He's, just looking at his soul, he could be another dumb tight end. With that massive route bar, with that huge route running bar that I've got no reason to think isn't accurate, 23 soul, he's probably going to be dumb as hell again, isn't he? Is that a thing with these tight ends and these superstar tight ends? They're all dumb.
I don't know. I've got no idea. This one tests the theory that Quick talks about when we've been doing these videos we've been doing, where he thinks when you get 100 bar, it can sometimes kind of unseen be 130 or whatever, and you're really just getting to being hyper dominant.
I don't buy that. I mean, I don't know if you saw what I said, but when a guy regresses with age, if he's got 100 bar, if he was at 130, the profile would regress, but he should therefore stay at around 100.
Yeah, that's it.
On that,
it should regress later.
It doesn't happen. 100 will regress down to say 90, in line with all the other bars. So I don't see the evidence for there being over 100.
But is it also true to say? No, this is anecdotal. I've never done numbers on this, but better players do tend to fade older, don't they?
Yeah.
So that would sort of be consistent. I don't know. This player is bloody brilliant. I think this next one's also.
Yeah.
I think this guy dropped. Both these tight ends dropped too far for me. I think all the players that have been picked so far are good, obviously. But this guy and the other tight end, I think, will be big time difference makers for their teams. I think if I
certainly prefer the other one. I preferred Lucio over this fella.
Yeah, I do too. But I think that I'd love to have this guy in my team. I mean, I think this guy will be really
21 years old. This guy.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most valuable assets in this draft. I had it number 4 on my big board. He's gone at number 10. When I get to doing value picks and all that, I think this will be one of the best value picks in the draft. I do think this guy is the route runnings are going to be there's a chance it could be maximum, right? And that's super valuable, I would have thought, and whatever. So I love this pick. I think this pick is a bit under the radar. I think we for quite a long time in this league, tight ends were a bit undervalued. I thought. I don't think they are now. I think these guys are massively good prospects. I think this is going to be a really good player.
I agree.
All right, the first defensive pick number 11. So, my defensive scout's not as good as my offensive scout, but this guy's bars look ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you guys make on this guy?
Guys look insanely good. I do think it's too early to go defense, to be fair. There are still some good receivers on the board. For me, I think it's a touch early, but there we go.
So I mean, look, this was the interesting experiment, I guess, for all of us that play in this league. This is about as good a prospect on defense as you can get, right? So if we all believe that corner, like I think a lot of us are coming to the view we don't. I mean, actually, isn't this another age 24 guy? I think he was, but
yeah,
still,
he's 24.
Yeah,
I mean, his combines are off the chart. He ran a 4.28.
The combines are ridiculous. The bars are maximum. Everything.
57. So he's a superhero. He's Deion Sanders, basically.
Yeah. So is Deion Sanders better than 10?
He can't return. Can't return the ball. That's it. Shame he can't return. That's a shame. But never mind.
Still think if you're going for a defensive player, might want to take the defensive end that was on the board instead of a corner.
Yeah, I agree. I'd have gone defensive end over this guy. That's a really guy, isn't it? Yeah.
I could see this guy dropping down to like maybe 116, 120 region, like on a normal draft, maybe.
I mean, I just want to know if these players even matter, right? Look, what I've been doing is been getting a load of league average guys with cohesion and chemistry, and I'd kind of like it if it was better to have guys like this instead, and it would make the game more varied. But I don't think that guys like this are anywhere near as impactful as players on the offensive side of the ball have got something to do with the passing game.
No, I don't think they are at all. I mean, I think they matter a little. He'll get probably an extra couple of picks, and he'll probably defend a few more passes. But when you've got to pay the guy, and you're paying him 20 odd million a year, that kind of those stats paid in comparison. I don't know. It's just not something I would go with.
Yeah, I mean,
do you honestly think defense is that broken where a guy like this just doesn't really matter?
I don't know if it's broken. Does it matter? How much does it matter in the NFL? I think it's an attempt to simulate the NFL.
I did some testing. I did some testing going back about a year, and I think a guy like this could contribute maybe half a win if you're lucky. Whereas you get a wide receiver like this, he'd be contributing probably 2 wins.
Yeah.
A quarterback maybe 3. So, I think comparing it to the NFL, it's way off whack. But it's not that they don't matter at all, but they just matter a lot less than their offensive.
This guy's going to be good for the league, but if you have like a 45 corner with a maxed out interception bar, he might also put up the same numbers. So you're kind of just picking and choosing where you want to spend your money.
I think one thing the NFL analytics community has sort of spent a lot of time on, where front office will catch up but hasn't yet. I think Jim responds pretty quickly to developments in the NFL analytics community, and this idea that the pass rushing is or coverage is more important than pass rushing, right? Coverage is more important than rushing. Sack totals emerge from the secondary. That seems like a theme of NFL analytics in the last, 18 months or so, where people have got ever more convinced that that's the truth, and they sort of seem to think that that's the way people go, and the NFL draft seems to begin to reflect that viewpoint. And I think that probably will all come in due course, but I don't think front football reflects any of that. And I think that I probably would agree that in this game we play, pass rushers probably make more of a difference than coverage players. That's probably true. I don't know. And even if it is true, the difference, as you're saying, Nick, is minor compared to the difference between defense and offense, right?
Well, would you not say that if you think of the NFL, if you've got no it doesn't matter if you've got great cornerbacks and you've got no pass rush, eventually the receiver will get open. It doesn't matter how good the cornerbacks are.
Well, I think I'm not
the old school thought. That was the old school way of thinking.
But I think the team that's the exemplar for the newer view is the Patriots, right? They've got loads of. I can tell you their secondary players are. I've got no idea what their pass rushers are, and every time when their pass rushers get good numbers, they trade them away for a pick, which they then don't use on a cornerback, right? So that's their mentality, and they win more than everybody else. So we'll find out because obviously they haven't got this mega star quarterback anymore.
I
But
mean, I
that's
know
what
when
they do.
Sherman, I used to watch all the Seahawks games. When Richard Sherman was in his prime in Seattle, it was ridiculous how good he was. I mean, I think he was actually underrated. Everybody hated him, but I thought he was clearly the best. Over Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. Watching every game, he just he made so much difference. It was just insane how he could dominate a receiver.
And he moved to a new team, and that team got in the Super Bowl, right? So there are plenty of reasons to think.
Yeah, but the pass rush in San Francisco was superb.
Yeah, but which way round does it work? I mean, I guess that's the point, right? It's cause and effect, right? Which way round does it work?
They improved the pass rush, and they went from being 3-13 team to a 13-3 team.
Yeah,
don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it was pretty much the same secondary those 2 years.
I guess that's the wonder of the game. The sport, right, is everything's a small sample size. You've got no idea what's causing what.
No.
And Jim's doing his best to simulate a game that's got those characteristics, and we end up with this guy who is is an extreme example of a good player in a position which we're all thinking is non-premium, right? And maybe we're all wrong, or we're all barking up the wrong tree. But
no, I don't follow the NFL that closely, truthfully. But I was always under the impression that the pass rush was more important. I mean, to recover a receiver for 3 seconds or whatever it is. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you can get a consistent rush and knock a second off your pass rush, to me, I would have thought that's incredibly valuable. Eventually, any cornerback is going to lose the receiver. You would think. I don't know. I'm behind the times though, so I don't really know.
Well, if you've got a great corner, quarterbacks won't even try to throw that way as well. They almost close off.
They never did with Sherman. He just went in single coverage, and they still didn't bother. And it upgraded the defense so much because you could stick Sherman on somebody, and that's one wide receiver. It's just buggered unless he's an absolute superstar. He's out of the game. Right. So whoever's left, they can double team. I think that was the secret to the Seahawks. The major secret is that Sherman could lock off one guy on his own.
So we got, I put on the screen pick 12. So let's get back into the world about wide receivers because it's top half of the draft. So
I would have taken him at 7 if he hadn't been 1% developed, because my club was too old to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
It's literally the only reason I didn't take him.
Thing is, you can develop receivers a lot easier than most positions.
Yes.
You can just fling them out there, but just don't throw the ball to them. But yeah, it is a pain in the ass at 1%. But I think this guy's going to be a cracking player once he's developed.
That's interesting. I'm not so forward on this guy, but that doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the getting downfield bar. Do you guys see it the same as me?
Yeah, I think it's going to grow. Personally, I had him underrated, and I think there's 702. That bar. It looks out of place, and the fact that he's underrated as well. I believe that bar's going to grow.
Well, obviously, Dave's picking record's pretty good. So
it's more my sort of receiver. That's what once that bar chips up 20 points, I think if it does, I think it will. That's the sort of receiver that I feel comfortable with.
But I mean, if it doesn't, then you can find these guys, right? If it does, then fine.
Well, if it doesn't, it's still a bloody good pick at 112. Really.
Yeah, I guess
it's good. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty damn good. You can't moan it.
In the modern world of everybody picking receivers, I guess I agree with you. I mean,
then I'll probably value BPR higher than you do. That's the thing. See, I see that guy as a deep threat.
Yeah,
that is the sort of guy that I'll be running the football and then throwing 5s and 6s to him. I'll be happy with a guy like that. And ideally, you'd mask him with a guy with higher route running, so he gets single coverage downfield, and I think he'd do really well.
And I don't know.
Chicago likes guys with high route running. He doesn't really. If you look at his team,
I think he's going to come alive, this guy. I think he's going to be really good.
So that receiver at 12 and a receiver at 13. So now the receivers are starting to get a little bit lower end, I'd say, but there's high development on this one.
Yeah, not quite so keen on this fella.
The thing I'm learning is all you guys get much narrower bar distribution than me. I've got like a 40-point range on like all these bars, so like the last 2 picks, they look like maybe they're good. I don't know.
Yeah, here's another example. At 13, we're about to get to them. There are some monster defensive players left on the board at this stage.
That's the kick coordinator's interview that makes bars wide like that. So when it comes to staffing, you need to make sure your relevant coordinator has a better interview bar. Then it will narrow the range down.
Yeah. No, this our offense guys. I just prioritize that. The way I do this, I care quite a lot about scouting. I appear to be a little bit naive in that view, because clearly the case that the super elite drafters don't care so much about scouting, as was talked about in discussion I had with Matt the other day.
What do you think of around that? See, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I guess you probably listened to that thing we did with Matt Power Quick, and I did a Matt Power. I mean, the guy is a talented guy. I guess it's just as simple as that.
Yeah. But then, how much of it? Let's be honest. How much of it is down to his database? If he didn't have that, I bet he'd need a scout then.
I don't know, the pattern. I mean, the thing is, I've been playing this game for 4 years, right? So I've got quite decent pattern recognition compared to someone who downloads the game tomorrow. But you're the same, Nick, that people have been playing this game for 20 years. I mean, there's so much pattern recognition out there, and you're talking about very clever people, and they've just seen it all before, right? So, who knows? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm surmising, but I still need a good scout. Yeah, I don't know. When you've got a computer system that pings up certain combinations, I mean, you're in a different ballpark. When it's just you in the game, do you know what I'm saying? You need a bloody good scout. If it's you in the game, I don't know.
I'm with you. I've got a computer thing that ranks them for me, so I know which ones to look at first. But I mean,
I just use the game. I don't even use draft analyzers. So, if you like looking through a fog for me, don't
know. Anyway, look, this bloke, I actually on the fence as to whether I'd have this bloke. My big board was telling me at this point to pick a guy called Rasmussen, who went 24th to San Francisco defensive tackle. So, what do I know? So next board,
I like the Vikings receiver. I thought that was the pick, really.
Well, we'll get there. The 14th now we got. This was a Nemesis pick. Remember, I always flag this when we do these videos. Remember Nemesis, when I sat down systematically looked at who does the best drafting in the GML when I played there way back when, it was Nemesis, and it was not close. So with every Nemesis pick, I give it a little bit of extra attention. I don't really get this one. It's not got the blocking bars I'd have looked for a tackle with the 14th pick in the draft.
Perhaps he got a good scouting read on him. Perhaps he got underrated on him or something.
Yeah, I didn't see much offensive. I wanted an O-lineman in this draft. I wanted a really, really good one. And I think it's the pick that's coming up. And I didn't see one, so I traded the pick.
I'm just trying to see if this is how smart he is on this star sign. That really matters when he's drafting offensive line, doesn't it? So, he's smart. Yeah, he's a smart one. He's a 74 intelligence, plus or minus 30. So, if he may get underrated on this. So this is sort of a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah,
I could see us sliding him into guard, but I don't see him staying at tackle.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm getting this one, but as I say, Nemesis gets the benefit of the doubt because he's really good at drafting. Next one, this is Joel again. So he came and took a pick from me to get this guy. And this is the one where I think this is a bit like what we were talking about before. So the static for this guy is big play receiving. The static is lowish. It's not 0, but it's lowish. The rest of the bars are good. The most important bar, arguably, is route running. It's less than the others, but it's still good. So when you add all that up, I can see why he picked him here. It wasn't a pick I was about to make, but I can see why he did it.
Yeah, he's got his 2 wide receivers and his quarterback now, and now he can grow his team together. I mean, I don't think this is just pretty much a par pick, I'd say, isn't it? I would say that maybe Max's guy is better, but other than that, I think he made a good pick there. I mean, he's got, for me, a guy like this is probably more valuable than pretty much any defensive player. I'd say he's like the guy Ruby, the defensive end. I mean, maybe now we're starting to sort of debate whether the defensive end would be more valuable than this guy, but I probably would still slide with this guy.
I mean, I think we're getting to the point where the league seems to be doing it consistently now. In the top half of the first round, if there isn't an offensive player that you like, people are trading the pick, right? Or
Yeah.
That's what people are trying to do. And
we don't want to get caught up with a 20 million a year non-skilled player, because that is what's going to happen. I mean, it is a pretty damn tight cap league, and it's a liability. You've got a guy. He comes in. He's not a particularly good player as a rookie. He might start to be half decent. You've got probably maybe a couple of years, and then all of a sudden you've got to pay him a bloody fortune. And you want to be saving that money for the skill guys. That's the way I see it.
Well, that's Fredrickson, and let's see how he goes. Right, next, this is another San Francisco pick. So the second San Francisco pick of the first round, and I don't know how to get all the bars on the screen because I can't figure out how to do it. It's not very
This
good.
didn't make any sense to me. Whole rec is way too low.
So what do we think here? Davey's still on? Hello.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Hey, so let's go on from the horse's mouth. What's the logic for this one?
I can't remember now. I needed a running back desperately, and I couldn't decide between the two of them. It was between him and what was his one? Stat. I see the whole run in way better than that, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, the first three running backs went on the board this time around. This one went first. I took one quite high, top of the second round. I think you took one, didn't you, Nick? But yours is a wide receiver conversion. So I think.
What did you think of him, Jamie? That wide receiver conversion?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got numbers on wide receiver conversion. We'll obviously get there in a minute, but I mean, I can absolutely see the logic for it, and I'd rather have a wide receiver conversion shot in the dark than any other kind of player you're going to get in the 25th pick of the draft or whatever it was. So, I can totally see that. This running back. It's funny. So I was in GML for a while, which I've stopped doing because it turns out I can't play two front office football leagues at once. I just get too confused. And when I joined it, the AI had drafted for me, and the AI in that league is written by Ben. It's not the game AI. It's a Ben thing that he's come up with, and it's really good at drafting, right? And it drafted a running back that looks like this guy with sort of 60-ish hole recognition. And I was like, well, that's a bit shit. I've got a first-round pick, and it's a running back with hole recognition that is non-elite. That's it's a bit unfortunate. And the player turned out to be really good. So I think I just don't know what I think about this guy really.
I see 53 to 85 hole rec. So
I've got 48 to 76.
I see up 85 at the top end. So
I quite like power inside as a bar. I do like the goal line back or the short yardage back. I think you can buy it cheaper than the 16th pick in the draft, but I do like it. And I like the idea of a combination of that and route running, which I think is brilliant. If it's like 3rd and 4, which are the most important high leverage situations in the game, and you've got the option to run and pass with the same people.
To be fair, this fella's only £200. It might be worth just having a sneaky peek what he'd be like at wide receiver as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this guy came out as a receiver with 70 route running, that's more valuable than any running back in my view.
Guys, the static store, I think he'll be like highly rated, but I don't think he'll get more than like maybe 4.5 yards a carry if you're lucky.
Yeah, and look,
which is still better than anything I've got on my roster at the minute.
I mean, that's well, I guess we'll see how we go. This is anyway the first running back off the ball with a 16th pick. Let's keep going. There's another safety here now, another defensive player. They go to the same team. This is the same team, right? Which one is Los Angeles N? Is this Saw?
Yeah, this is Saw because I traded in the pick because I had 17 originally.
So I mean, he really is going to show us whether it makes a difference how good your secondary is because he's
can't do nothing right. He jumps in picked a wide receiver, Blaine, didn't he, last year? And we slated him for that. Now we're slating him for going defensive back.
Thing is, though, I mean, if you know, it depends a little bit here, I think, on the sophisticatedness of the simulation. Because in the NFL, if you had one team as dominant as Nick's team, and it had just ridiculous levels of receiving capability with a old quarterback who, you know, keeps making canny decisions but is aging, right? And you know, they had hyper receivers who were mega fast and brilliant. Then if all the other teams in the division started loading up on hyper secondary, they would be receiving plaudits for their amazing strategic viewpoint, right?
At that point, I just run the ball.
Yeah, well, true. But anyway, let's see how much a good experiment for us all in the league. This guy's got, you know, elite size, elite combines, elite bars in safety, which again in the NFL, I think there's a real debate as to how important safety is a position. I think it's one of the most undervalued positions in the NFL, and I get the impression the times are changing. Even 2 off seasons ago, if you remember this, in free agency, all the safeties seem to be undervalued, and then the most valuable one, whose name I've forgotten, his actual name, the guy what's the name of the bloke they call Honey Badger? What's his name? The secondary / cornerback, Kansas City.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Mathieu, that's it. And he's got this amazing feature where he kind of operates all across the secondary, but for franchise tag purposes, they call him a safety, right? Not a cornerback, which makes him cheaper. Someone at Kansas City figured all that out.
That's dirty.
Yeah,
we just traded for a safety into the Seahawks in the NFL, and I was shocked how much we paid for him.
2 firsts, a third, wasn't it? And a starting safety, and you got a 4th, and it was Adams, wasn't it? Back.
But this is the thing. I think three or four, even 3 off seasons ago, safeties came cheap, and now they just don't. So there's clearly been some sort of analytical change in the NFL.
Yeah. Also, we've been drafting like shit, so we thought we better get something safe. We really have.
It's funny on draft day, isn't it? And in the NFL, well, they always trade down, and then they pick someone random that no one expects to go, and it's like they do it every time. Yeah,
they do it every time. It's absolutely insane.
It's like,
and it's not working. I mean, thing is, I think it got, you know, it went to their head that, you know, it worked, didn't it? And it's probably more luck than judgment.
Or just having a good quarterback covers up a lot of sins, right?
Russell Wilson in the 3rd, and then it went to their head. They started thinking they were geniuses, and they start, oh fuck you, we're going to pick you guys you've never heard of, and now it's just like in their faces ever since, isn't it?
Just one. Did anyone watch the NFL draft live? Did any of you guys watch it?
Yes.
Did you see? Oh, what's his fucking name? The Arizona coach's house.
Yes, amazing.
To just cut to his house. It's like, are you joking? Like, what the? Anyway, let's keep going. All right, so that's Thornton. Well done, Salford, getting 2 megastars in the secondary. Let's see if it makes any difference. They're good players. Let's see if that makes a difference. Ruby, I had Ruby fairly high on my board, I think. Yeah, I did.
Stayed 17, I would have taken him.
Yeah, I mean, this guy looks, in all the, just for the benefit of anyone watching who doesn't play this game to a geeky extent, all these coverage bars you can basically safely ignore, which makes everything almost max with the exception of punishing a hitter, and that's close to max. And then all the combines are awesome too. So, and he's prototypical weight, and then maybe slightly below on height. But I mean, this guy is, you wouldn't have to change much to get to perfect, right, on this prospect. How old is he?
Yeah, he's pretty much as valuable defensive player as, you know, is what you're going to get. I think he's pretty damn hot, isn't he?
Yeah. In the NFL, this guy would go in the top 5, right?
Yeah, the 40 time 4.60. What's I don't know what the top 40 time is for defensive ends. About
like
4 5 something. Isn't it?
I'll tell you what I think that is out of 100. I think that is 90 out of 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, you know,
third
pretty damn good
guy in the draft, and he drops to 18.
Yeah, I mean, I had him as like a in the teens pick. I like, then we'll get to it, I like the defensive tackles more, which is very unlike me, but they were very, very good prospects. I thought, but this guy is obviously pretty good too. And again, how much these guys matter? Because if they matter a lot, then this guy's going to matter a lot. And
this is the area where we get a lot of stud defensive ends, though. I know I picked Corbin Blake at like 119. Dennis Shinners, I think, was 119. Like, You just go back through the drafts, and there's a lot.
It is
that's
that
just
point
in
where
this
you've run
area.
out of offensive players, isn't it?
I've got to say, if I'm picking here in the near future, which, you know, the way my team's going, maybe I'll end up picking higher. But, you know, I'm going to start taking these guys because I think that might be getting undervalued. This guy's ridiculously good, right?
My issue is how much is he going to cost you after his rookie contract?
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
if you do chemistry, you've got more cap space than everyone else, right? So,
True.
you know, effectively. So for me, this guy might make sense. And I don't know, like maybe the opportunity will fall to me. But I if you hadn't have sent me a pick, Joel, for 15, I probably would have taken the D tackle that's coming at 24. I didn't really want to do it, but I probably would have done that just to get one of these guys. I don't know how much difference it makes. It probably does make a difference to have some of these guys, right? I mean, it can't be true that it can't be actually better to have a bunch of league average guys on defense than this guy. I mean, the game's not.
Oh, no. You'll get, those sort of guys, they get 30 hurries and the sacks, and that it's just not a killer difference like a wide receiver is or a quarterback is. It's just a little chip up, half a win maybe over a year.
I think you see the difference like when you play against a stud quarterback or something. If you don't have any pass rush to go against them, the passing game's going to kill you. But if you have like one defensive end that can get 3 or 4 hurries in the game, all of a sudden that's a big difference. And at least gives you a chance.
I mean, it's funny. You talk about watching Seattle every week. Nick, in the NFL, I watch Cleveland every week, right? So you got Myles Garrett there, and I don't know how much difference is it. If I could trade in real life NFL, if I could trade Myles Garrett for 2 decent cornerbacks, I don't know. Maybe you would do that.
Wasn't he suspended for like 5 games too?
Oh, there's that too. All right, next one. Another cornerback came in the next pick, 19. Another good player by the looks of it, and this went to Tampa. And so, as you say, this is where the boss defensive players are now going in the sort of late 10s, early 20s in this league, and it's happened again this season. And look, this is a high quality draft class, right? These are still like elite prospects, aren't they? With the 19th pick.
Yeah.
431 combine.
It'll be a 70, probably.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, and these are very good players, and the sort of players where when they reveal and your roster, you think like, this is going to be great. So
great return skills as well.
I think that's a lot of it, though. It's like people like drafting these guys because it makes them feel clever that they've just drafted an 80-rated guy. But unfortunately, I think in the real world, it's not so great. But it's they give you half a win, but like Joel was saying, it's the Moneyball thing. It's the fact that you're going to have to pay them. These defensive ends now, I mean, it's not 20 million, it's 25 million. It's just getting absolutely insane. And I don't know. I just want to avoid them like the plague going forward. Personally, I just don't want to.
I look at this like trade value or whatever. You have like a 70 cornerback that's probably going to fetch you more on the market than like a 55 wide receiver or something like that.
Well, maybe. I mean,
I disagree. I mean, it depends on what the route running is, doesn't it? It depends on the bar profile of the receiver.
Well, another good thief prospect goes off the board. Right, next one, Rebstock to Minnesota. I think I really liked it. Minnesota took a wide receiver I really liked at 49, which I almost took with the 4th pick of the 2nd round, called Pryor. And I actually had Pryor rated over this guy. What do we think of this guy?
I liked him. I thought he was a good pick, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues. I think that's. Look, as I say, I've spent a lot of time just drafting wide receivers, and I've got plenty of mistakes on my record for just drafting too many wide receivers. I'd have no issues with this guy at 20. I just liked more the guy that took at 49, oddly. But
me and Max were speaking on this one, and we came to the conclusion. Well, he came to the conclusion to take a risk.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say is that agility combine, I don't know whether it matters or not, is hyper elite. That's really unusually low.
I think that is pretty much max, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
I like this guy. I think it's a great pick. I think it's one of the best picks in the first round, personally.
And look, we'll see how that goes out. But that's an unbelievably
Why
good
did you say
combine.
that, Nick? Because you kind of said earlier that big play was really important, and this guy's not got big play.
Because it's a wide receiver, and because it's a very good wide receiver. Okay, he's not exceptional, but to get a receiver of this ability, this guy should have been going where Brian drafted that cornerback. I'd take this guy all day over that cornerback.
Right.
I mean, that guy. I'm just trying to think back into the draft, but yeah, I mean, I think this guy is more of a should have been going around 110 personally. The position is so important. The quarterbacks. To me, it was cut and dried that there were 4 quarterbacks. None of the rest were worth a toss. So those 4 quarterbacks should go in the top 10. And after that, I just think, to me, it makes sense just to, a big run on wide receivers really. Before you even think about any other positions, because I think there's that position is that much more important. So I would take this guy before any defensive player, I think.
I mean, I don't disagree with any of that, Nick. The only thing I'd say is, as I say, I liked a guy they took at, 49
Pryor.
As much or possibly even a little bit more. But look, I mean, they're both
Let me have a look at Vikings took him, did he?
Yeah, 49.
Pryor.
Yeah.
Alexis Pryor. There's a Tyrus Pryor. He is bad.
So
well, I mean, this Pryor dude, he's got the important bars the same, and everything else is pretty much awful. So
again, it's like an essentialist approach. I should look at that.
To be honest with you, I hate to give Max praise, but he does pick some great wide receivers out of his ass.
Yeah,
regularly.
So there's two very good receivers, and
look at that receiver he got in undrafted free agency last year.
Didn't see that.
Yeah. He's got a Grady Jones. Really nice bar profile. He's only about a 52 or something, but heck of a good player. And I noticed he stuck him on the block for a second, and I was actually pretty shocked that he didn't go just like that, because he's worth all of that for sure. I don't need receivers. If I did, I'd have been on that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of receivers in this draft, so it's good to put them back in the population. So there's going to be enough in the game for.
Yeah, no doubt. Pryor should have gone in the first round. I don't think he's as good as Rebstock, but I'm not seeing a far right GD. I don't think he's, to me, quite as good as Rebstock, but I think he's pretty damn good though.
Yeah,
certainly late first.
Yeah, on to this 21st pick, Floyd. So this is zero static defensive end. And I guess that zero static will be the focus of attention. And
punishing hitters maxed.
Yeah, no, true. I guess, I don't know. Do you think that when we look at the statics, and again, for the benefit of those of us who don't go through it super closely, we think the statics on this, pass rush strength and punishing hitter, and I don't know which one's more important than the other. I kind of work on the expectation that for defensive players that are more about rushing, I look at the pass rush strength more, and for what players that are meant to be more about coverage, I look at the punishing hitter more. But maybe that's just me kind of thinking more than the game does. See what I mean?
I usually just look at pass rush strength for the interior guys, like defensive tackles and inside linebackers. It seems to matter a little bit more, but guys that play on the outside don't really make a difference.
I think it does matter somewhat for guys on the outside. I mean, you see a guy like Reams, who he's got that pass rush strength, and I think that is what makes a Reams. There's a fair few guys out there. I've had them myself that had 100 pass rush technique and 0 pass rush strength, and they're nowhere close to Reams. So it must do something. Obviously, pass rush technique is much more important for a defensive end, but strength, I think, does something. Whereas punishing hitter, I've never noticed it do anything at all, to be honest.
I just noticed for a while there, I had a lot of guys on my team with punishing hitter, and it seemed like every single team I played, we took out like 2 or 3 guys on the other team. So maybe that's something.
From a bounty perspective, it's great.
Yeah. I thought punish hitter took away endurance.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure that was in one of the older versions. that it slowed
Yeah.
the player down. The heavier they got hit, basically, the more their endurance dropped. So if you had a
People
halfback,
say stuff, but I don't necessarily believe it. You know,
yeah,
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
You're
Who knows?
making me feel like the game's really broken.
No, it's not. It's just the nature of. Look, it's interesting because Quick was talking about this on one of the things we did the other day. The game is not broken, obviously, but we've now got to a point where it's quite solved by the people who play this at top end level. You've got people who, appoint sophisticated computer programs at the game and get it to reveal correlations and stuff. I actually think it's a miracle it isn't more solved than it is, right? It's brilliant that we're still able to play this game and we haven't just sort of fucked it. We can have a long conversation like this about the things that are in the game with plenty of areas that we just don't know, and it's intriguing enough that we care. But look, I mean, I don't know on that specific one. And to some degree, of course, when you were playing the game at the top level, you ended up with people with, they're playing the game sort of several levels past, the original intention of the game, right? Obviously, we'll sit there saying it's good for you want read defense on quarterbacks to be low. That's kind of counterintuitive, right? But people have put in a lot of effort. I thought this running back was pretty good. I was a bit surprised that Dallas took a running back because I hadn't looked at the roster recently, but they've got a good running back, haven't they? So a bit surprised that they took this one.
Evan's been doing that for a while, though. He always has like 2 stud running backs on his roster.
Okay. Well, this is another one, right? I mean, this is a good player.
Yep. This is one where I'm like, just don't let him fall to Nick. Just don't do it.
Well, this one, I mean,
I don't want a third.
Stacking. Don't worry, that they'll need to get paid eventually, and people. It's overall drafting these guys, but let's see people pay them. Let's particularly pay the second one. But let's see how this one looks like a good player to me. I think I don't know if this is like a really elite running back to me, but this is a good player. So obviously, next one, Detroit, 23rd pick of the draft. So here we're in the world of the low endurance wide receiver. What do we think of this guy?
I don't think endurance matters as much. I've had a guy with 0 endurance get over 1,500 yards, so this should be fine.
Yeah, okay. I look, I think this guy is fine also. I think I like this guy prior. I went at 49 more. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we've talked to death about receivers and why picking receivers is a good idea. This guy, I had this guy, Rasmussen, 24th pick to San Francisco. I had this guy not me, but the computer that I get to just tell me in advance what to look at. So I don't have to look at all the picks, and I just does a forced ranking for me. It had this guy as the 6th pick in the draft. He went 24th.
He's moving to defensive end.
Do you have 3, 4?
Yeah.
Right.
Good pick, isn't it?
I mean, this player is brilliant, right? I mean, this is going to be. I mean, again, how much does this position matter? Does it matter? Does it matter if you've got a massive D tackle or maybe end in a 3-4 who's unbelievably good at pass rushing? Yeah, this is the closest thing our league's got to Aaron Donald, right?
It does when you had 16 sacks last season as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Theodore Hoffman, the best defensive end, we've seen. He was a 3-4 end, and I think he's probably more important than the cornerback that went at 112. I think this guy is where should he go? I mean, I think once all the quarterbacks get out of the way, then you get all the wide receivers out of the way. Say, I don't know, roughly speaking, off the top of my head, 8 of them. Then I would have thought this guy ought to be the next man up, roughly.
Yeah, at 15, I was going between this guy and Pryor, who went at 49. That was my judgment at the time. And then I got offered a 1 and 2-2, so I just took that instead. But I don't know. I wasn't paying super close attention to either. If I had to pick, I would have looked at the players a lot more closely. I just like this guy. I don't know. Like I think it may have gone too far. The idea this guy falls to 24 doesn't feel right to me. This could be a super elite player for me.
As long as he moves him to defensive end, it looks like a lot to me. I just can't
Definitely.
I can't rationalize picking a defensive tackle in the first round. They just don't add up to stats.
Yeah, I did get to the bowl game in IHOF with two street free agent D tackles in a 4-3, and that kind of left me convinced that it didn't make any difference who you had in that position. But if you've got 100 pass rush technique and you're massive and you've got really elite athleticism, surely that's important.
I also think, like, for defensive ends and stuff, if you have guys that are like unusually sized, like a guy that's maybe like 260 or a guy pushing like 315, for some reason does better than a guy at like 280 who's like the prime size for a defensive end. For some reason, when we look at the elites that have played in this league, it's always like one extreme or the other, at least at some point in the career, and then they kind of work their way back towards the middle. But it's usually like they start off at like an extreme.
Well, that combine's extreme. That 482 for a player that way, I make that 100 out of 100. So, you know, that's why my computer liked it so much, because this is so extreme. And so, I don't know, who knows if it matters or not. Right, next one. This is Rob, right? So Rob's taken a cornerback who is a big corner. So you think about safety conversion, but he's got weak run defense. What do we think of this one?
And a low static.
Yeah, sort of middling. I mean, again, quite like this guy. Rob picks good players every single time. So what's interesting for me with Rob is that he didn't pick this guy prior I liked so much. We went in 49th. Because Rob's as big a wide receiver picker as anybody.
Yeah.
Might just be saturated. Too many good wide receivers. Doesn't want to take another one.
And he was crying because he missed out on Rasmussen the pick before. He wasn't very happy with me.
I think you look clever, don't you, when you take an 80 rated cornerback versus taking a 55 rated player. I think the reality probably is that the 55 rated wide receiver is more valuable. He's going to take up less cap as well. So,
well, time will tell, I guess. That's an elite 40 time again. This guy, I think, is 21 years old. I think I'm right in saying that. And then he's got pretty well developed.
When he comes out, and that will he actually do anything? Probably not.
Moving on. I mean, picking defensive. Next time we do the draft in this league, it's going to be the first defensive player's going to come off the ball in like the third round. So now Atlanta 26. What's this? This Wes, right? Atlanta.
I wanted this guy.
You wanted this guy.
Yeah.
Why do you want this guy so much? What do you like?
Just everything. Look at his bars. It's just great. Great run defense. Great pass rusher. Hits hard. High endurance, and even his passing bars are good. Well, reasonably good. Zone's supposedly the best one, isn't it, for a linebacker?
I guess if you look at the again, discussion I had with Matt Powell and Quick, they're both firmly of the view that the middle linebacker is an important position in the game. Not something that I've experienced very much, but that doesn't be much because I just have never really had one. I'm always a bit fearful on the cap, but this is a good middle linebacker, right?
Especially with tight ends being so prominent now, you need a bit of linebacker coverage.
Good point.
Not sure the game matches up that well.
Probably not, but we need something to try and stop all those tight ends, especially that one in Seattle.
Good luck.
Yeah. Next one. Okay, so this is Nick. This is another one.
He's actually faster than the defensive end Ruby. On his 40 time, this guy.
Oh yeah, sorry. I should have pointed that out. This is another 100 combine. Sorry, that's a very good point.
He's also 70 pounds lighter.
That's 100 out of 100 combine for a guy of that size to run that fast in this position is very, very unusual. So if that matters, then this guy is brilliant.
Not many people blitz from linebacker anymore, do they? Blitzing seems to be a thing from linebackers. It doesn't happen in FOF. To me,
If you're in a 3-4, they blitz every play.
I mean, this player's a bit like, what's the name? I've forgotten the name. There was a guy who came out of Clemson and went in the NFL draft to Arizona at like 9th or 10th pick this time around, Isaiah something. And he's a do-it-all linebacker, and nobody knows what his position is. That's it. And that's our Red Zone Blitz version of him, right?
Yeah.
And we'll see if it makes any difference in this game we play. Right, next one is Nick. Nick, you picked a wide receiver conversion here at 27. Did you trade for this pick?
Yeah.
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 So,
I mean, I traded a first next year and 3.32 for this pick.
Right. And I guess you'll just find out.
I would have jumped in anyway, even if this guy wasn't here. I would have taken Stone that Steve took. I just felt there was some good value on the board. There's the offensive tackle, Stone. I really liked him as well. He was my sort of player, but ultimately, I felt that this guy's a little bit risky, but I think the risk is sort of reduced because I could actually keep him at running back if it doesn't look like he's going to make a great wide receiver. If he gets 0 BPR or something, I don't think he will. But if he did, I could always keep him at running back, and he wouldn't do too badly.
It'd be a good third down back, right? If in particular.
You could throw the ball, and he'd be all right. I think he'd do a good job.
Like,
Yeah.
I think there were running
He wouldn't be
backs.
fantastic, and I wouldn't have traded him for him if he was going to stay running back. But he's not going to be worthless if it doesn't work out receiver. But I'm relatively cautiously optimistic it will.
I think there were other running backs with like better looking receiving bars. Is there a reason why you picked this guy over like some of those other ones? Like, I think
I don't know who you mean, but
but
there was a 227-pound running back. I think he's still on the board. I had a look at him. I just felt that was pushing the weight was just pushing it a little bit too much.
I got like a Donovan that's like 215 pounds or whatever.
Pitt took him. Carolina, I'm sure he did in the second round.
Who's that? Who are we talking about?
Oh, sorry, the other running back that you said was a convert or could convert.
Broderick Barton had great receiving bars, but I just think he might be a little too heavy, really. I don't know. I just felt good vibes on this guy, really. I think there's the correlation. Me and Joe were talking about this.
Yeah, I found him. This guy, right? Adams. Is that who you're talking about?
Maybe. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
GD dog shit.
No, but it's the 40 time as well, right? So you got to have that. You got to have that elite 40 time at the same time. Obviously,
there was another guy. Then it wasn't Pep who took him.
Okay.
I looked at him.
But no, I think this guy, he's got pretty good receiving bars. And what I was finding, I was sort of having a little bugger around in single player, and it seems to me that the guys that come out with decent BPRs are guys that are relatively talented running backs overall.
Yes.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want to be. I think the game wants you to take that risk. Do you mean this guy? So I mean, I took this guy. He had the route running, but he's bigger, 227. So I don't think he's going to be a conversion.
I don't know. I'll have to check, but I'm sure there was one. Maybe he's still there. I'm sure there was a decent one.
Yeah, there's a guy.
Broderick Barton,
I've got a guy left on the board.
Probably Broderick Barton. But yeah, no, I don't know. I just sort of felt good vibes on this guy.
For sure.
I just think there's a pretty good chance that I could end up with a, I don't know, say 60 rated wide receiver, 58, something like that. And as he's got the route running, so that's kind of the big thing, isn't it? He's got the routes, he's got some endurance. As I say, if it doesn't work out, I can keep him as a running back. But I just think he's as good a punt as anybody at this point, really.
That sort of value point. No, I completely agree. Next one, Muscarella.
I'm not off, guys, so I've got to do some scouting. I've got picks coming up, and Rob will go ape shit if I hold the draft up overnight. You know what he's like.
We'd have to sack you, Nick, wouldn't we?
He's like a woman, isn't he? He'll start bitching. I know what he's like. Be on my back. I'll just be reading through chat, and halfway through it'll be, So I'm going to dive off, and I've got to jump into that. So I'll let you guys finish up anyway.
Good. All right, mate. Switch other.
Thanks
Good.
ever so much. So it's nice work, Jamie.
Yeah, good. And speech there. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
All right, we got Muscarella, 28th pick to Carolina to Pip. This one, I like this one a lot. The computer for me had this the 8th pick in the draft.
I liked him at first, but then I interviewed him, and I think I got overrated on him.
Yeah, I got that as well.
Yeah, okay. I actually, when I looked at him, I mean, my computer liked him because he was an affinity, right? And I think the combines are good. Well, no, not actually. Anyway, whatever. The computer liked him. Thought it was going to be really high rated. A combination of the pass rush technique and the run defense being so high. But to the eye, the endurance obviously is a bit worryingly low. I don't know about the height, whether I should care, but maybe I should. I don't know. Like, I still think his power could be pretty good, frankly. I don't know.
If you move him to defensive end, that endurance isn't really an issue. But staying at defensive tackle, he's probably only in for like.
He said he was going to move into. Pip said he was going to move into defensive end because I asked him.
But that's where the height and weight worries me, because if he was 6'7", 301, then it'd be a lot easier for his position switch. But I think
quarterback, right?
Sorry?
He's bigger than Joel's quarterback. Sorry, Joel.
I don't know if Joel's still on. I mean, he's kind of. I think he's still going to. The Oracle's going to join us from whatever Wi-Fi world he's in.
Isn't that percent developed still pretty high for his age?
Unbelievably high for his age. I think that's why the computer liked him so much. So 48% of age 21 player is crazy high. And with the maxed out bars, that's why my computer liked him so much. I'm not sure I like it as much as the computer. I wouldn't have taken him with whatever I thought it was, the 10th pick in the draft, whatever my big board said. But look, I think this is a first round pick, and this could be a really good. I mean, this could be one of these weird ones, right? Like we were just saying earlier, where the player's so weird that the player's brilliant, and I couldn't believe that. Right, okay, next one, Stone. So Stone, I think this is the guy Nick was just referring to as a guy who was on the brink of picking. What do we think of this guy?
Why?
Forward time, probably tackle, super run blocker for Nick, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
I like this guy better than the tackle taken earlier.
Still move him to guard or center or something.
Well, you've got an option, haven't you?
So there's a couple of things going on here. That combine for the dash there is another. Again, there's a lot of value in this draft. That's an unbelievably high combine, right? Another 100 out of 100 player. That's
and I see his pass block way higher than you do as well.
Yeah, okay. So, maybe I think the debate on this guy is the pass blocking, right? So the static is only moderate, but it's there. The pass blocking, some people, again, this is the Zach effect, right? Zach would never pick this guy 100,000 million years because he just doesn't want the run blocking bar. Yeah, that's one view. The size is with this guy. I have a sneaking suspicion this guy should be a center and could be a really elite center, like crazy elite. There's one at Chicago in this league who is a bit like, I can't remember if he's been moved to center or not, but he was taken like the 3rd round a few drafts ago, and has got just like a massive run block bar, and I think probably does make a difference. Don't know. I think it's a tackle to center conversion, unusual kind of player, but I think that I really like this guy, and I kind of missed it actually. I think at 15, I should have been considering this guy in the conversation and didn't.
I think if this guy's your tackle, you might get like 35, 40 key run blocks out of him, but you're also going to give up like 10 sacks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have wanted this guy to be my center. He's very young. He's 21, I think, with a high developed. I'd like this pick, and I actually felt like I missed it a little bit. I think the more I'm talking about this guy, I think I should have thought about him at 115 actually, but just didn't. So
but you picked him to move him, yeah.
Yeah, to be my center, yeah. But I need actually the sort of irony of it is I need a tackle. I wanted a tackle at 115, but I didn't think I could see one. This guy wouldn't have fulfilled that need for me. For well or ill, I couldn't get one. I still need to. If anyone's watching this and you want to trade me a tackle, I'll pay a lot. All right, next one. Tanaka, 30th pick.
Sorry, it was crap. Move on.
All secondary players are shit. They're a waste of time. They mean nothing. They've got nothing to do with the game. Look, what do we think of this guy? He seemed all right to me. We can have the position discussion again.
Statics, fine. The interception bar is really all you really need for defensive backs. The rest of it's just kind of frosting on the cake. So,
yeah, I think he's going to be pretty good, and I don't have any really objection to him going at the bottom of the first round.
Another NFC West team putting people to stop Nick's passing attack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing is, right, this draft didn't have a lot of, I mean, we've just talked about O-linemen, but this draft didn't have a lot of O-linemen. At the back end of the first round, you normally see a lot of good O-linemen, solid O-linemen go off the board. That option wasn't there this time. So these defensive players, which maybe fell a little bit further than they used to, maybe that's sort of what's going on. Now we've got Mikey. Mikey's at 31. So someone help me out, because I didn't keep enough track this time around of all the various trades and stuff, because I just traded out and I didn't want to trade back in. It doesn't make sense for me, so I wasn't paying attention to all of it. Did Mikey do like 15 trades in this first round like he normally does, or what?
Yeah. Rob was
He's done a lot of trades.
Yeah, Rob was moaning because it was taking him ages to sim because of Mikey. So actually, it's funny, right? So obviously, I'm in the UK. Mikey's in America. Yeah. He got up. His middle of the night pee and did a trade with me.
So
absolutely superb. 4 a.m. it was.
Do you know what? I think I've actually done that with him before.
But he was the reason I was on the call that I had to drop off, because I was making the trade with Mikey.
Mikey's like a brokerage firm in our league. You know, like it's like if you need an asset, but I was saying this to Quick again on that video the other day. I said, look, if you need a valuation in this league, you'll get one, right? Which is one of the cool things about the Red Zone Blitz League. You always get, all your assets have got a value because there's liquidity in the market. Mike is our market maker. He makes a market on every asset in the game. He's great. Anyway, here's a safety called Borders with a maxed out run D bar, and everything else is and a bump bar, and everything else is sort of all right, and endurance is debatable. For me, that endurance, that's not a first round pick for me because the endurance.
Him defensive player.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd move him to corner. It's
yeah,
like
I guess
the BNR bar is like more important for corner, and it like never gets used for safeties. So I'd rather have him at corner.
Yeah, for me, that's a kind of second round corner, and that's how I think I'd view a play like this. For me, I'd have him playing in like 1 or 2 personnel sets, but not all of them, because otherwise the game's going to flash up that error saying whatever it says, like tired or whatever it says. And I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but I normally just make sure the game doesn't tell me that before I click go on my depth chart. But you know, others' mileage may vary, and I could be doing the wrong thing. Next one, 32nd pick of the draft, last pick of the first round. Is this Saw again? Is he Los Angeles? No, this isn't Saw, is it? Saw is Los Angeles N, isn't he? So this would be KO, right?
Yeah.
For a tackle, and I think if I had to be forced into picking a tackle, which frankly maybe I should have done, I probably would have looked at this one. What do you think of him?
I'd get an interview first, because that static's kind of worrying.
Yeah. He's age 22, I think, 38% developed, and a low static. Look, this isn't, in a really strong draft class. These players are starting to get a little bit more into kind of end of the first round style, aren't they?
I think if this guy comes back with an interview of like as scouted, he's like a low 60 with good intelligence, so he should be a decent tackle. Yeah.
In a league where, I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I find them hard to find in this league at the moment. So I've only got one tackle at the moment. I mean, the other one retired, and I can't find a replacement. So I'm going to end up with a replacement level guy at tackle this season, which could be a problem. And KO won't, because he picked this guy. So yeah, that's probably a sensible thing to do. I mean, I think the O-line in this draft was kind of conspicuous by its absence, right? And we haven't had many, and maybe next time around I haven't actually looked because I haven't got many mid-round picks either this time around. I presume there must be some guys in the mid-round picks that you can take.
There's a few guards. There's definitely a few guards around for the sort of second, third round, but
yeah,
tackles was really lacking.
Yeah,
this draft like dropped offensive line and linebackers and just filled it in with wide receivers and quarterbacks.
which is what we like now, right? So this is the game's going to change on us, but it gave us what we wanted. All right, well look, that's 32 picks, and as ever when I do these YouTube things, just fingers crossed I pressed record properly when I started.
All right.
Anything else anyone wants to cover before we wrap up?
Joel mentioned quite a bit, and I know what Joel thinks. I'm just wondering what you guys think. So on endurance on the offensive line, does it actually matter?
I don't think so at all.
Yeah. So it's a funny.
I think it might lead to more injuries, but I don't think it really affects performance at all.
I think
so your player normally comes up tired though, doesn't he? The next game.
Yeah, but the performance is. I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that the performance is substantially impaired. I think that you see quite a lot of them just do fine. I've never really paid attention to it. It doesn't mean it doesn't. Maybe I'm sure it does have an impact, but the thing about O-line, right, is I guess what the way I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure with O-line as a position group, it's that important whether you've got the best possible O-line, right? It could be a system which is more about what's your weakest link, and is your weakest link okay? And if your weakest link is okay, then you'll kind of tick the box and move on. And if that's true, then I don't think the endurance stops guys from being okay.
I think a lot of the O-line stuff is with cohesion, because like I started building up a line like 5-6 years ago, and I've had the same starters for I've had 4 of the same starters for 5 years, and now my offensive line is really good.
Yeah.
But I do have 2 studs there, but I still think it's mostly cohesion that's building into it.
Yeah. Who knows? But Zach's the guy for this. So if I can ever persuade Zach to come on and do one of these videos, then let's ask him that question, because I think he's looked at this a lot. What I don't know is what his roster. Go look at his IHOF roster. Whatever he's doing, his IHOF roster is probably the latest we know as a community on whether it matters or not.
Do you guys think affinities matter more than cohesion?
It's a great question. I don't know. You must have experienced if you play in a single player at all, which I haven't done for literally years, but that feeling where you've got loads of good players, but you're just doing okay, and then a couple of seasons pass and you just start mullering everyone. And the temptation in multiplayer is to do trading because it's fun. But if you just don't bother doing any trading, you do perform better.
I think that was the big change for Mike in Jacksonville, is for the while there, since he was doing so many trades, he was in the bottom 3 of every cohesion group. And then all of a sudden he keeps the
Cleveland at the moment. And it's true, because I literally wrote out in Excel my game plan, and I know it works. And I've tried it in single player, other league, it works. With Cleveland, it's just unbelievably bad. And I had 2 good receivers and T-Zac's QB.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I think you traded that QB yet?
Yeah, I got who did he go to? To Dan Hooper.
What'd you get?
Couple of seconds and maybe a 4th.
Okay. Well, I think that it's a good.
If I hadn't moved him, I might not have taken that QB at 1.1.
Yeah, that's a look. I think.
Which you got a stud there, so you'll be fine. Just give 2 years and you'll have it.
Yeah, but my cohesion was the lowest in the league passing last year. It's going to be even lower now, isn't it?
It is, but that would just get you a wide receiver in the next draft, right?
Did you move around your wide receivers?
Sorry, say again?
Did you move around your wide receivers, or are you still keeping the same receivers?
I've got 2 out of the 3.
I don't think your cohesion's going to get hit that much. Because,
If
like,
we get hit anymore, it literally won't be on the PC screen. It'll be on the bloody table, I tell you.
I think you'll get, like, the bonus from keeping the wide receivers together, but then it'll also, like, you'll get taken away just for having a new quarterback, so it'll probably just balance out.
Cool.
Right, I'm going to turn this thing off. Fingers crossed I figure out how to do it. Let's click that, and then let's click that. Right, goodbye, everybody.